Hello and welcome to Bliponomics. Phil is stuck in traffic. I am Jerry Anthony, and tonight we are talking all things Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, the presumptive next president of the United States. How do we feel about that? Before I lose my shit, please, wherever you're listening or watching, subscribe to Bliponomics, and if you want to be a part of the show and tell us how you feel, send us an email, bliponomics@gmail.com. So I'll tell you how I feel about it. What the How did we let this happen? I'm putting on my hat early because I've lost all faith in humanity. How did we let this happen? When Ross takes the oath of office, I don't know if you know this, he actually gets two titles. The President of the United States, and he also gets the title of King of Failing Upwards. That should be his biography. Failing Upwards, the Thaddeus Ross story. Because never in history has someone been so terrible at their government job, yet keeps getting promoted until they can't get promoted anymore. Because they failed their way all the way up to the top, all the way to the presidency. Did everyone forget what this man has done? Did everyone forget who this man is? He just shaves off the old cookie duster and all's forgiven? This is the man whose questionable decisions to play Dr. Frankenstein or Dr. Jekyll or whatever generic mad scientist you want to put in there, whose questionable decision to secretly dust off the super soldier program blew up in his face spectacularly. Because the soon-to-be President Ross was the one who helped create the Hulk. And if I remember the lore correctly, he was in the lab when it happened. This is all in the Black Widow intel dump. It's all online. Look at it for yourself. So then, after years of chasing the Hulk around the world and failing to capture him, the soon-to-be President Ross makes the very questionable decision to bring military tanks and weapons on a college campus while class was in session to engage Dr. Banner at Culver University. Your president led that offensive and obviously failed. Ross then followed that questionable decision with another questionable decision. Ross decided to create another Hulk, a new Hulk, Emil Blonsky, remember? A new Hulk to catch the first Hulk, but then the second Hulk experiment failed. So he had to get the first Hulk to stop the second Hulk. That's how the infamous Battle of Harlem came to pass. An epic disaster entirely of a Thaddeus Ross's creation. Billions of dollars in damage, crashed helicopters, and, more importantly, dozens of civilian, police, and military deaths. But instead of prison or court-martial, the Ellis administration actually commends Ross for his role in the Battle of Harlem. And eventually, the Ellis administration, in their almighty wisdom, named Ross Secretary of State. Failing Upward Level 1 complete. Do you all remember this clip? How the press swooned over him after the Battle of Harlem?
The general is no stranger to these types of incidents, and he has long-standing relationships with many of these heroes, and was instrumental in spearheading the response to the emergencies at both Culver University and Harlem.
And as Secretary of State, well, we know what happens. Ross is now considered an expert on dealing with enhanced individuals, and he was made to be the de facto fist of the failed and now rescinded Sokovia Accords, which eventually disbanded the Avengers, made Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson war criminals, wasted millions of dollars chasing them around the world, which, as we know, resulted in the Avengers not being together when Thanos attacked. Now, I don't want to put the blame squarely on Thaddeus Ross for destroying half of all life in the universe, but I'm not sure how to finish that statement. We'll just say this. We're about to give the nuclear codes to the man whose questionable decision-making may have led to the destruction of half the universe. What could possibly go wrong? But, as a proud American, I am forced to root for the guy. Because if Ross does well, America does well, right? And I just have to hope he learns from his many, many, many questionable decisions. And I hope he does a good job. The bar, though, is really, really low. Because we know the last guy, President Ritson, the guy who almost started a war with Russia, then declared war on Skrulls and all off-world beings, which he didn't think about this, includes Thor. And the guy before him, President Ellis, oversaw the collapse of the entire intelligence apparatus of the United States of America. It was on his watch that Hydra infiltrated the entire government. Oh yeah, and his vice president, Rodriguez, he was also a terrorist, but he was a terrorist from a different, smaller terrorist organization who also tried to kill Ellis. So, like I said, the United States presidential bar is really, really low. So anyway, that is my story. Let's hear yours. Next, we are going to get to some emails. Talk me off my Welcome back to Bliponomics. We are going to read some of your emails. And if you want to be a part of the show, please do not hesitate to email bliponomics@gmail.com. Our first email comes from Sam. You can almost see where this is going. I have my hat ready. Sam writes, as a proud Ross man, I must say I was deeply insulted by your recent take on Thaddeus Ross. You criticize him for creating the Hulk. Are you serious? Ross didn't just create a monster. He created a hero. Have you forgotten who it was that snapped everyone back into existence? That's right, Bruce Banner. Without Ross's vision and determination, we wouldn't have the Hulk. And without the Hulk, half of us would still be dust. You can sit there and criticize all you want, but I'm grateful to Ross. He saw the potential where others saw danger. That's the kind of forward-thinking leadership we need in this country. Maybe Ross's methods aren't for everyone, but they've certainly paid off when it mattered most. Sincerely, a true Ross man, Sam. Sam, thank you for the email. I take issue, though, Ross creating the Hulk a hero. Ross accidentally created the Hulk, and I believe Banner fixed himself as best he could. Again, failing upward, Ross tried to create Captain America, and he ended up creating the Hulk. Again, somehow failing upwards. The guy is a genius at failing upwards. Thank you for the email, Sam. Our next email comes from... He's nameless. Okay. He's nameless. Jerry, I'll admit it, Thaddeus Ross is not exactly my favorite person. His track record is spotty at best. It's more than spotty. And his questionable decisions had serious consequences. But there's just something about him that makes me think he could be a good president. Maybe it's his tenacity or his sheer refusal to quit, but I can't shake the feeling that Ross has what it takes to lead this country. Sure, he's made mistakes, but who hasn't? At least Ross isn't afraid to take action in these turbulent times. That might be exactly what we need. So while I don't love the idea of Ross as president, I'm willing to give him a chance. Maybe he'll surprise us all. Yeah, maybe he'll surprise us all. Maybe he'll take failing upwards to new unimaginable heights that we've never dreamt of. I am skeptical at best, but I'm going to root for him because America. This next email comes from Sarah. Dear Jerry, as an astrologist, I have spent years studying the stars and the impact they have had on our leaders. Thaddeus Ross is a man who will go down in history. Of that, I have no doubt. The alignment of Mars and Aries in his chart suggests that his presidency will be marked by a conflict and upheaval. Aries is a fire sign ruled by Mars, so naturally the stars warn us of the color red, representing both his fiery determination and the potential for great destruction could lead to greatness, as it could also lead to catastrophic decisions. The color red will play a significant role in his time as president. For Aries, the anger and aggression of Mars are protective mechanisms. It is the famous Aries temper that always allows him. Okay, thank you, Sarah. I am not sure what all that means. I am not an astrology guy, but it sounds to me that the stars are telling us a Ross presidency would suck. In the past, I poo-pooed astrology, but now I poo-poo nothing because of the shit I've seen. Fred writes, I'm not here to sing Ross's praises. I think he's a bad president, plain and simple. But then again, the last guy wasn't any better. My taxes went through the roof under Ritson, and I'm not seeing any signs Ross will be any different. All these guys seem to do is make life harder for the average citizen. Ross's military background might mean he'll focus on defense, but what about the rest of us? I'm tired of presidents who forget about the little guy. We don't need another president who's just going to raise taxes and waste money on failed programs. We need someone who's going to make life better for the people who put them in office. Thank you, Fred. Fred doesn't care who's president as long as the taxes go up. I respect that. We have an email from Charles. Charles is coming in strong with his support of President Ritson. Let's see what he has to say. Dear Jerry, in a world full of chaos and threats from every corner, we need a president who understands the importance of strength and security. That's why I believe Thaddeus Ross is exactly the kind of leader we need right now. Ross has always been a strong military man who knows how to deal with threats both foreign and domestic. Does he? With the kind of dangers we'd face in recent years, from alien invasions to rogue superhumans, we need someone who won't hesitate to take decisive action. Ross may not be perfect, but he's a man who knows how to lead in a crisis, and that's what this country needs more than anything. I strongly disagree. Maybe you didn't know, but literally every decision that man has made has been wrong. But, like I said, gotta root for the guy. We'll see what happens. Thank you for all your emails. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. Phil will be back next time where he will review Scott Lang's new book, Look Out for the Little Guy. Until then, I am Jerry Anthony. This is Bliponomics. We will see you next time.